Well, we are continuing to cover a couple of messes here at the Michael Jackson case. The attorney for Michael Jackson just releasing a statement only moments ago saying he hasn't authorized anyone to speak or hold any press conferences on behalf of Michael Jackson or his family, and clearly a specific reference to the spokesperson for Michael Jackson, who had just said earlier today that she would not be holding. If Mr. Mesereau didn't want me here, I wouldn't be here. And of course, Jesse Jackson, the Reverend, has been holding press conferences defending Michael Jackson, not specifically speaking on behalf of Michael Jackson, but that could be a reference to him as well. We're hoping that maybe we'll get a chance to speak to Ramon Bain about what she makes of this. But let's move on to another controversy brewing outside the courthouse, a result of my exclusive look at the jail where Michael Jackson would likely be brought if he's convicted. Apparently some in the Jackson camp believe it was part of an orchestrated effort.
In some sense, advertising the jail cell, which the sheriff promised back in November of 2003, one might say a kind of psychological warfare. Michael has not reacted to that. He's not taken him off of his focus. His focus on his self-confidence, his hands, his life in the faith of the jury, and his faith in God, and belief in this jury and his lawyer. He remains steadfastly focused on that.
So there he's saying psychological warfare that sounds like he's saying the prosecution DA is using. Joining me now is MSNBC analyst and the former Santa Barbara County Sheriff, Jim Thomas, who took me on the tour of the grounds. Jim, sounds like Jesse Jackson's going after you there.
Well, I think he's going after both of us, Dan, but you got to remember, we're in the news business. And the issue is that Michael Jackson has two ways to go after the verdict is read. He either walks out the front door and goes home, or he goes out the back door into a sheriff's van and goes to jail. They have talked extensively about what would happen after he left if he went home and the celebration that would take place. I think it's fair for the public to know that if he went out the other door, what would happen and what the sheriff would do to ensure that he remains safe and well treated. That was the intention of that report, and I think it was well received.
Look, I agree. Look, I responded to a viewer last night who wrote in saying you're presuming Michael Jackson guilty by showing where he might have to go if he's convicted. My response was, so what? We can't talk about the possible sentence he might receive? We can't discuss it? We can't show the possible places as to where he may have to go? That's absurd. So, anyway. All right, I want to give you a chance to respond to something else that Jesse Jackson said. But first, I want to read this. This is coming from Michael Jackson's official website. A note from Michael Jackson and the Jackson family regarding those unauthorized statements. Quote, "The efforts of Michael Jackson's friends and supporters are noticed and very much appreciated at this time. However, only Michael Jackson's attorneys of record have been authorized to speak on his behalf." I don't get it. Michael Jackson has a spokesperson. How can that spokesperson not be authorized to speak on his behalf? Only Michael Jackson's attorneys of record have been authorized to speak on his behalf. Let's get Stacy Brown ready as well, if we can. He's ready to go. Stacy Brown, look, you're sort of on the outs with the Jackson family these days because of the book that you've been involved in, etc. We know that. But you've known the way this team works. You were very much in with the Jackson family for a long time. What do you make of this? I mean, does this mean that Ramon Bain, the longtime spokesperson, isn't even supposed to be speaking for Michael Jackson at all?
Well, based on that statement, Dan, yeah, it means that too. I think that once again, and they've complained about this since this trial actually started, even way back during the preliminary hearings, they've complained that there were too many people speaking, as you pointed out, but she's the spokesperson. But this is not necessarily unusual.
Too many people speaking.
For this.
Too many people speaking is one thing.
But Dan,
all right, I can see saying, you know what, we don't. But the spokesperson can't speak for him. What does that tell us about what's going on in this defense team?
Since he's been arrested in November of 03, he's had, 1, 2, 3, 4 different spokespersons. Ramon Bain has happened to have been the one who stayed around the longest of late.
Well, I don't know what this means. This just says to me that this is a camp with a lot of problems in it. Again, this is coming from the Michael Jackson website, a note from Michael Jackson that only Michael Jackson's attorneys of record have been authorized to speak on his behalf. Apparently, they're just simply not happy with some of the statements being made. And one of the statements that they may not be so thrilled with is this one from Jesse Jackson when he spoke on this program about the raid on the Neverland Ranch.
He feels, I think, even a greater sense of injustice toward the role of the sheriff and then the DA in such extraordinary efforts to destroy him. After all, when the sheriff went into Neverland in Waco style, 75 armed deputies as if they were expecting armed resistance, went in and destroyed furniture and art and property and took away personal items, came out of the place with under occupation, then had this international press conference declaring Michael to be guilty, looking for more witnesses.
I got to tell you, Jim Thomas, the former Santa Barbara sheriff, was his blood was boiling. Like, Jim's a pretty low-key guy. He sort of hangs around. We talk to him a lot, and he's very relaxed. He heard this statement, and you could see Jim like shaking as he heard this, as he was talking about this. Jim, why did it upset you so much?
Well, this resemblance to Waco style is disingenuous at best. As I recall, Dan, in Waco they had a tank that ran into the building used incendiaries. Shots were fired. There was a large fire and children died. To make that comparison to the raid that was done on November the 18th, 2003 is a slap in the face of the men and women of a very proud and professional law enforcement organization, and it's absolutely inexcusable. From the standpoint of the broken furniture and the art, the deputies filmed this whole thing. It wasn't done. And in the 18 months since that search warrant was served, not one person from the Jackson camp has ever filed a complaint or done anything to say that they felt that was done by the Sheriff's Department, except the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Well, I wonder, Michael Cardoza, whether this means that Tom Mesereau and Michael Jackson are now saying to themselves, you know what? These people whose motives are good. I mean, the efforts are noticed and very much appreciated, but the bottom line is they're just thinking that in the end, all of these somewhat incendiary statements are not helping Michael Jackson's cause.
And the other thing that I think they have to worry about, are they inciting the people that are behind you right now? I mean, you and I have seen what's in Santa Maria there. You have people what are you guys doing here? Why are you so involved with this? Why have you come from other countries to watch this? And, they're very volatile. You got people with rocks out there. It's pretty scary. People like Reverend Jackson keep saying things like that. They could incite a riot down there. But, Dan, let me get back to the one thing that I thought was really ironic about the jail. You guys toured the jail. Remember, in trial, the defense is not supposed to mention jail or imprisonment. So during the trial, Mesereau on 2 occasions talked about the freedom of Michael Jackson. On rebuttal, the district attorney, Ron Sonnen, clearly told the jury, you can't consider that. And now you guys go out and talk about it, something they did, the defense did during closing argument, so now they're complaining about it? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I thought you were saying that we shouldn't be talking about it. Okay.
No, I'm not saying it at all. I'm saying, where does the defense Jackson get off saying that? It doesn't make any sense.
I got it.
It could help them. Think about it. It could help them, what you did.
I got to move on. Jim Thomas, quiet. Susan Filan, Michael Cardoza, Stacy Brown. What a mess.